The delivery boy everyone ignored became their new boss. Nobody looked at the delivery man. That was the biggest mistake they ever made. I still remember the exact smell of that office like it was yesterday. Printer toner mixed with burnt coffee from the third-floor break room. And underneath it all, this other thing I could never quite put my finger on. Maybe it was just the sin of folks who thought they were a cut above everyone else around them. Or maybe it was nothing more than stale air in a building where nothing ever really budged. For almost 2 years, 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, I'd push through the lobby of Navara Solutions with my arms loaded up with parcels. I'd hold that heavy glass door open with my back, flash a smile at Sandra the receptionist, who never once bothered to look up from her screen, and ride the elevator up to whatever floor the delivery was for. Then I'd stand there at some desk or cubicle or fancy glass office while whoever was closest would snatch the package without even meeting my eyes. Just leave it there, or finally, or sometimes nothing at all. I was Rayan, the delivery boy. That's all they saw. What none of them knew. Not Sandra, not the floor managers, not the VP up in his corner office on the 7th floor, was that I've been watching everything for those 2 years. Not because I was some spy with a plan. It just happened. When people decide you're invisible, they quit being careful. They talk loud in hallways, argue right out in the open, leave papers face up on desks, and take calls they really shouldn't in front of anyone. And me? I was the perfect silent witness. This is the story of what went down when the folks at Navara Solutions finally noticed me. By then, though, it was way too late to take any of it back. My name is Rayan Siddiqui, and I grew up in a neighborhood where you learned pretty quick to keep your ambitions quiet. Not because people weren't sharp, they were sharper than plenty I met later in boardrooms, but because shouting your dreams too loud just invited more disappointment, and nobody needed extra of that. Dad drove a truck. Mom cleaned offices at night, funny enough, including the old building Navara used before they moved to that shiny tower. She'd come home with hands all sore and still make sure I finished my homework before crashing. I got a business degree from a decent but not fancy university, the kind that lands you interviews but not often the actual job. I sent out 43 applications in those first 8 months after graduating. 11 replies, for interviews, 0 offers. One interviewer straight up told me Rayan Siddiqui didn't look the part, like it was no big deal. Too quiet. Wrong suit. Handshake wasn't firm enough. Whatever the real issue was, they always wrapped it in something vague, so I couldn't push back. So I took the delivery gig. It wasn't giving up, not completely. It paid steady, gave me headspace to think, and kept me sharp without frying me in some cubicle. I had plans brewing. Always did. Nights after my routes, I'd sit at my tiny kitchen table studying the markets like it was my religion. Not just casually, obsessively. I've been at it since I was 19, soaking up everything on investments, mergers, acquisitions, restructuring. It started as curiosity and turned into real know-how. But at Navara, I was just the guy in the blue polo with the scanner. Swift Parcel had Navara as their biggest client. 6 floors in that glass tower, 300 employees, constant shipments, internal stuff, legal docs, client packages. I was the regular courier for the building, so I knew its heartbeat better than most insiders. I knew Thursdays the 7th floor went quiet for those closed-door strategy meetings. I knew Marcus Vale, VP of Corporate Development, always rolled back from lunch 22 minutes late, smelling like whiskey. I knew Dora Cannings in finance had 2 phones and swapped them quick whenever she spotted me in the hall. I wasn't hunting for any of it. It just piled up when you're quiet, patient, and nobody bothers closing doors because they don't see you as real. The first time I knew something was seriously off at Navara hit on a rainy Tuesday in late October, about 18 months in. I was dropping a sealed courier envelope on the 5th floor, legal stuff by the look of it, when I walked past this glass meeting room. 3 people inside, voices raised so loud the glass couldn't hold it all. Marcus Vale was one. Another older guy in an expensive suit I didn't recognize. And Priya Anand, head of investor relations. Can't keep reporting numbers we can't support, the older man snapped. Marcus shot back. It's a bridge. 6 months, maybe 8. You've seen the projections. Priya, quieter but tense. The projections are a story we're telling ourselves. Then someone clocked me in the corridor. Priya turned first, stared right through the glass at me for a solid 3 seconds. Her face went blank and professional, and she walked over and yanked the privacy blind shut. I kept moving, scanned the package, rode the elevator down. But those words stuck. I've been noticing Navara in financial news, and their last couple quarterly reports had this weird pattern in how they booked certain revenue. Not screaming fraud, but off enough to make you pause. 6 months, 8 months, a bridge. I tucked it away. No proof, no voice. But I started watching sharper. The moment that flipped everything came on a Friday morning in December. I had a thick envelope from a downtown law firm for Marcus Vale, his assistant Tobias. Young guy who'd picked up Marcus's attitude like it was contagious, grabbed it, and then announced loud enough for half the floor to hear. Do you know you've been coming to the wrong entrance? The service one's around the back. We've told your company twice. Total lie. I'd used the main door for 18 months, per instructions from both Swift Parcel and Navara's facilities guy. I told him that polite as I could. Tobias looked at me like a smudge on the glass. Well, starting Monday, use the back. It's not really appropriate for logistics staff in the client-facing areas. A few others in the hall heard it. Chloe, this junior account manager I'd seen 100 times, caught my eye for half a second, then looked away fast. I said, understood, and left. Sat in my van for 4 minutes before I could drive. Hands shaking. Not just mad, deeper than that. That old, tired feeling of being reminded exactly where you stand, no matter how hard you grind. I finished the route, went home, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop to all that quiet research I'd been building without even realizing why. I got to tell you about Dara. My cousin, 2 years older. While I hauled packages, she'd been at Brightwell Capital for 4 years. Sharp as hell, with connections and database access I didn't have, and this gift for seeing through financial structures that made pros pay attention. I'd mentioned my Navara observations to her over time, casual-like. She'd listen close, ask the right questions. Then one November night she called, Ryan, I think you found something real. We figured Navara was playing games with contract revenue, booking future stuff as current income in a way that technically fit the rules but leaned on shaky assumptions. Dara was sure those would crumble inside a year, turning their profits into smoke. And senior folks knew. That October argument proved it. Instead of fixing it, they were stalling. Real fraud, the quiet spreadsheet kind. Dara knew someone at the Financial Markets Authority. Not buddies, but trustworthy. She'd had a careful first chat. They were interested but needed more, either an inside whistleblower or stronger cause for a deep audit. We had to create that cause. I thought about Tobias. The back door. 18 months of nothing. And the big acquisition of Navara was chasing with Vorden Group for $500 million per the filings. If it went through on fake numbers, Vorden would get burned bad. And I knew something they didn't. Vorden's head of acquisitions was flying in for final meetings in 8 days. I'd deliver the confirmation, docs myself. Nobody watches what the delivery boy hears. Those 8 days changed everything. First 3, I reached out direct, but professional through Dara's link to Vorden's legal team. No wild accusations, just pointed questions in proper language, with a 30-page analysis Dara and I put together. Careful, sourced. Used my small registered consulting name for it. Reply came fast. Senior lawyer Hargreaves, interested in talking more. Day 4, Dara's FMA contact bumped Navara to active review. Day 5, word from colleague. Former Navara finance guy Ezra Bondi had left 6 months back after an internal complaint, took a settlement and NDA, then switched to retail management. Weird move for a CPA. Dara reached out careful on LinkedIn. His short reply, can't speak about Navara. Sorry, that said plenty. Day 6, I grew some nerve and met Navara's facilities manager with the contract docs. Calm, professional. Showed the main entrance was still the rule. Gerald, looking tired, agreed and sent a memo upstairs. Tobias apparently went real quiet after that. Not revenge yet, just me standing up straight for once. Day 7, things sped up. Vorden asked for a short extension on the deal. Navara agreed. But inside, per Dara's new mid-level source, Panic was building on the upper floors. Meetings canceled. Doors shut. Blinds down. Day 8, Warden visit day. I showed up at the main entrance at 9:14, signed in with Sandra. As I held the elevator, in walked a sharp group, including this tall woman with white hair. Isabel Warden herself, I learned later. She looked right at me and said, "Thank you," like she actually meant it, like she saw people. I stepped out, let them through. "You're welcome." Made my drops. Noted the tense vibes, extra meetings, Dora Canning's clutching folders like armor, jaw-locked. Finished up, drove off. At 2:17, Dara called. FMA just went formal. Documentation request out to Navara. I pulled over. What now? Deal's probably toast. Next weeks in Navara are going to be rough. Ryan, you got to decide what to do with all this. It's about to blow up. I watched the traffic. I want to meet Isabel Warden. Properly. As the one who flagged it. She was quiet, then said I'd earned putting my name on it. The meeting was 4 days later in a hotel conference room. Isabel, 2 lawyers, an analyst. Dara with me. I walked them through it all step by step. Focused, not nervous. They asked good questions. We had answers. At the end, Isabel leaned back and studied me. "You've been delivering packages there for 2 years. Yeah. And built this. Had time to watch. Knew where to look." She paused. "You doing anything else besides deliveries?" I mentioned the small research practice. "Seems like a waste," she said. Didn't push it. The real story unfolded slower than the fairy tale version. Vorn didn't snap me up right away. FMA investigation went public 6 weeks later. 3 execs, including Marcus, hit with proceedings. Priya cooperated. Dora resigned. Ezra eventually testified after his NDA got tossed. Navara's tower went quiet. Restructuring, floors emptied. I never went back. 3 months after that hotel sit-down, Hargreaves reached out. Vorden was building a new due diligence team for Asia-Pacific deals. Wanted someone with fresh eyes, not the usual path. Someone who saw what others missed. They offered it to me. Called Mom that night. She was mid-story about a neighbor's dog when I cut in. After I explained that silence, "I'll carry it forever." Then she said soft, "Your father would have laughed so hard." In the best way. I knew it. Went past the old building once a year later. Different name now. Sandra was gone. Thought about Tobias and that back entrance nonsense. Not triumph, exactly. More like clear-eyed distance. Invisibility ain't the same as smallness. Ran into Chloe at an event later. She apologized for looking away that day. I said I knew, and meant both parts. People mess up when the cost feels too high right then. No bitterness left. Mostly I thought about Ezra. He tried internally, paid for it, got sidelined. When my new team needed people, I put his name forward. He joined cautious at first, then became one of the best. I tell this because of what it says. Right now, buildings are full of Ryans, delivering, fixing, cleaning, carrying whole worlds nobody asks about. Some watching, some building quiet, some just surviving, which is tough enough. Navara folks weren't movie villains, just people who'd learned to split the world into those who count and those who serve. It starts feeling normal. But normal doesn't have to stay that way. I remember sitting in the van that December morning, hands shaking after Tobias' stunt, thinking this was my shape forever. That smallness. I don't think that anymore. Turns out the back entrance didn't lead anywhere I needed to stay. YouTube titles, 5 options. The delivery boy everyone disrespected for 2 years until he became their boss. They treated him like he was invisible. They had no idea who he really was. He delivered their packages every day. He was also collecting their secrets. The boy they sent to the back in trance walked in through the front door as their new boss. Nobody looked at the delivery man. That was the biggest mistake they ever made. YouTube SEO description. He walked into that building 6 days a week for 2 years. He held the door open with his back because his arms were full. He smiled at the receptionist who never looked up. He delivered to executives who took the package without making eye contact. Nobody at Navara Solutions knew his name. Nobody thought to wonder what was behind his silence. They were wrong to make that assumption. This is the real story of Rayan, a delivery courier with a business degree, a burning ambition, and 18 months of quiet, careful observation, and what happened when he finally decided to use everything he'd seen. A story about betrayal, corporate fraud, silent revenge, and what happens when the people everyone ignores turn out to be the ones paying the closest attention. This story contains workplace humiliation, corporate fraud, financial betrayal, a stunning reversal of power, and one of the most quietly satisfying endings you'll ever hear. Watch until the end. The final twist changes everything. If this story moved you, hit like and subscribe. New real-life stories every week. Comment below. Have you ever been underestimated by people who should have known better?